Well, I was just thinking, I want to spend a few minutes with you and talk to you a little bit this evening. I was thinking about the first commandment that God gave to Adam, the very first commandment. It had several parts to it, but it was one commandment. He says, be fruitful, multiply, replenish, and subdue, and have dominion. Those five things. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, and have dominion. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it with you because in order to be fruitful, you cannot be fruitful if you're not seedful. There's no way to speak to concrete and say be fruitful because it has no seed. There's no way to speak to a dead piece of wood, a piece of lumber, a 2x4 and say be fruitful because it has no seed and it's dead. It cannot be produced. The only time you can say to anything to be fruitful is to already know that it's seedful. And I grew up at a time in the world that our country was fruitful. We produced some of everything. Our own tires, our own cars, our own steel. We had our own wood. We produced everything that we consumed. Somewhere between my childhood and adulthood, we moved from a fruitful age, to being consumers. If you think about it, the first age that hit this country was agricultural. It was agricultural, and it was the impetus through which slavery came. Slavery wasn't just about racism, it was always about money. And it was about money that was derived through agriculture as we started raising our own whatever, bananas, yams, potatoes, depends on what part of the world you live in, cotton. This country was built on being fruitful. And though the atrocities of slavery was the catalyst for some of its success, there was a fruitful mindset. After slavery and after the Civil War, we went from being fruitful and agricultural, as it were, to largely being industrial. And that's about the time my parents came into the picture, and all of my aunts and uncles were moving from Alabama to Detroit because they were working for the motor companies and Pittsburgh Steel and Union Carbide, and all of these companies were designed for us to be fruitful. As I listen to all of the talk going on about coronavirus, and I watch all the news and read all the articles I can, it is not just the virus that we're suffering from, though the virus is atrocious. There is no doubt about that. We're also suffering from the reality that we have allowed ourselves to become better at consuming than we have at producing, and now we're facing the consequences of needing to consume something that we don't produce. Simple things as masks. I've been doing a lot of talk in our church about STEM, science, technology, energy, and math, and then about STEAM, science, technology, energy, arts, and math. And we're definitely in the technological age, and technology has done a lot for us and a lot to us. But I'm hoping that when all of this is over with the virus, that in the midst of us also continuing to be progressive with technology and maybe artificial intelligence, and I know a lot of people don't like the idea of artificial intelligence, but within boundaries, artificial intelligence could be helpful, especially right now. While we're using human intelligence trying to come up with the cure, it would be nice if artificial intelligence took over the narrative and expedited the process and tested the various solutions and got us to a conclusion much quicker. That's what technology can do. It can get us to an answer much quicker. And I thought to myself, one of the things that I hope to come out of all of this is that we become better at producing than we are at consuming. And that's up to us. And that's up to our corporations, and that's up to our government making it possible for it to happen. But also it's up to me and you. It's up to the way we raise our children. It's up to the way we think. It's up to the way we live ourselves. If whether we're going to obey God's first command, be fruitful. Now, I understand when he first said be fruitful, he's talking about the development of humanity. I get that, populating the planet. But I think we've done that pretty well. We're up to about 8 billion people on the planet. So I don't think we have to worry about being fruitful in that way. We have more people on the planet than we ever had before. Consequently, the planet is rocking and reeling, trying to meet the needs of all of those people in water, in food, in fish, in land, in property, and all of that. But there are other ways to be fruitful other than having babies. We have lost our propensity to be fruitful. We don't make anything anymore. And it used to be we made everything. We made our clothes, we made quilts, we made garments, we made fascinating things, innovative things. Eli Whitney and the steam engine and Alexander Bell and the phone, we were fruitful in our psyche. But we were also fruitful too as a people. Even poor people were fruitful. I grew up at a time that my mother made pickles out of cucumbers and jams and jellies and all of that kind of stuff. I know it's old-fashioned. I'm not asking you to start making jelly. I'm just pointing to how far we've gotten away from being fruitful and how deeply embedded we have become in being consumers. And if ever was a time there was a red bell ringing in the ears of this country saying, we need to produce our own stuff, it's right now. Because some of the things we are needing are sitting on the docks of other countries, and some of the things that we're needing, we don't have the right relationships to get, or the ability to get, or the urgency to get. And if we do get it, their price gouging is taking advantage of us. And it's an old saying, but it's true. When you have your own mud, you can do your own daubing. Now, I realize the majority of the people that are following me tonight don't own a company, don't have an industry, but it is a mindset that we can start to teach our children about being fruitful, about making things, about creating things, about being productive and being proud of it. Because right now we have a society that is largely proud of what they consume, whose name they have on, whose shoes they're wearing, what car they drive. That's the only thing we're proud about. And I think that America needs a reboot. Maybe the world needs a reboot where we become proud of what we produce. And I thought to myself, while we're shut up in the house and things have changed and we're going through whatever this is that we're going through, as long as it's going to be, and we don't know how long it's going to be, that one of the things that while you're praying and while you're thinking about your life and your future and where you go from here, and I trust you are thinking about things like that, because if you have nothing else to think about, you're stuck in the house, you might as well think about where you're going and strategize. I think you should challenge yourself to say, what am I going to produce? Given that I have more time, optimistically, more life, more wisdom, more sense, what am I going to do to become more productive? What am I going to do to bring about a change? Can you hear me? Are you hearing me good? I need to make sure you're hearing me. You started coding 5 years ago. Congratulations. Yes, yes. Yes, 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 yes. That's exactly what I'm talking about. We don't think that way. We don't think about coding. We don't think about producing. We think about consuming. There's not a person watching me right now that doesn't have a phone, but there's very few that can make one. There are people watching me who have a phone and don't have a house. We are going to have technology, but we don't produce technology. We don't fix technology. But the funniest thing to me is one of the biggest problems we're having right now are over hospital gowns and masks. Something my mother would whip up on a sewing machine in a few minutes and be through with. And the whole country is in peril because the doctors and nurses who are on the front line, and by the way, hats off to everybody who's in the medical profession, who's working out there, who's doing anything to help anybody to make this any better. You are heroes. Amazing. Putting yourself in harm's way to take care of other people. We salute you. We need you. We appreciate you. We honor you. We respect you. And I'm probably too old to go back to school and ever be a doctor or a nurse or anything like that. That's not what I'm really created to do. But surely out of all of us, we could make something for them to wear. We could make something for them to wear. We could make masks. We could make something. We could do something. We could be productive. We could start small businesses and small companies and produce some of the things that other big companies are going to come in and going to produce and jack up the prices and all of that. But it just goes to show how vulnerable we really are. And this is what I'm getting at. This is what I'm getting at. This whole coronavirus has uncovered something that needed to be uncovered. I hate the virus. I hate what it's doing to people. I hate how it's disrupted our lives, but it has exposed something. We have fooled around here and gotten where we don't even make simple things. And now we're stuck in a house, and we're stuck in a house where if we don't have McDonald's and Wendy's and Burger King and stuff, half of us don't even know how to make a dinner. And I think we ought to start thinking about obeying the very first command that God gave us, to be fruitful, and teaching our children to be fruitful, and teaching ourselves to be fruitful in little bitty ways. Maybe we don't make a robot. Maybe we don't make a jet. Maybe we don't make any vehicle that takes us to the moon, and hats off if you can do that. I'm glad for you. But maybe we could do simple things and make simple things that made a difference. Gurneys, beds, blankets, something that added value to the world. And I am determined to be fruitful with my life, to do something productive. That's part of the reason I'm on here talking to you. Because why should I just sit around and watch what other people produced all day and watch television? This is my little way of producing something that adds value to somebody, that maybe somebody who's stuck in the house by themselves with nobody to talk to appreciates this opportunity to talk to me. And it doesn't take anything from me to be company to you. How are you going to be fruitful? That's my challenge to you. What are you going to do with the seeds of greatness that lie down inside of you? The dreams, the possibilities, the ambitions, the goals, the unused talent. How do we take the pain we've been through and turn it into power? The problems we've had and turn it into purpose? How do we start blog sites or write books or produce films or do stories or do something that is productive? Because if we were producing like we used to produce, we would not be waiting on other countries to send us what we need right now. So whether you're watching me in America or Brazil or Afghanistan or Israel or Japan or Africa or Nigeria or Ghana or Timbuktu, it doesn't matter. The question tonight is, how do we obey the first command that God gave us? Above everything else was to be fruitful. And from the moment he said it, everything that Adam and Eve would ever have, they would have to build. Isn't that something? Every piece of clothing, every house they ever stayed in, every sidewalk, every garden, everything they would ever have, they had to be fruitful. I want to challenge you because I believe you're seedful, and there are seeds down inside of you. I don't care how old or young you are. Don't let people discredit you because of your age, because old people know stuff. They know things. They can do things. Young people have strength and energy, and they were exposed to things that we can't even imagine. Sometimes I have to call my son to figure out what to do on my phone, because I was not raised with technology. But there are other things that I can contribute, and there are things that you can contribute. And I want you to contribute something while you're home other than frustration. Because if you don't build something that's positive, your brain will build something that's negative, like worry, like stress, like anger, like animosity, like fear. Why are we producing things that's killing us and not producing things that are making us live? Take that fear and turn it into fight, and let's produce something. A short story, a spoken word, lay down some tracks, take a course online. You can take a course online for little or nothing. Just one little course. I'm not talking about a degree, just a course, just a LinkedIn course on something like coding or something that enhances or broadens your life. Let's not waste this time, because one of the things that bothers me the most is that this time down that we're not working and that we're not doing what we normally do the way we normally would do it. If we just spend it worrying about something that we can't do anything about, has not the enemy stolen those days out of our lives? And will we ever get them back? Absolutely not. We will not. So let's find a way to turn this into something positive and productive and produce. Be fruitful. The concept, real quick, I'm going to give you this concept and then I'll let you go. The concept is to be fruitful, to figure out something that you have in seed form that you can bring to fruition. It may be just one seed. It may be just one thing. It may be Patti LaBelle and her sweet potato pies. That's fruitful. Simple thing, but it's fruitful. And it blessed her life. Let's figure out one thing that we can be fruitful in. And once you figure out how to take that seed of greatness and turn it into something that becomes a benefit to other people, that you don't have to cram down their throat or force them to consume because it's not valuable. You want to produce something that somebody needs. Then once you get a concept that works, step 2 is to multiply it, to franchise it, to increase it. If you did it in one office, you could do it in 2. If you did it in 2, you could have 12 locations. If you open up a restaurant, let's start one on the other end of town. If you got a ministry, let's start another campus. How can we take something that worked for us and multiply it? Be fruitful and multiply. Replenish. Where there's depletion, you can just pray about it. Oh, God, I need you to do something. This city, there's nothing going on in this city. There's nothing going on in my town. Start something. Set it off. Replenish the barren places. Subdue it. Conquer something. There's nothing that gives me life like to conquer something. I have to have something that challenges me, that makes me get out the bed in the morning and gets me going. Conquer something. Subdue it. And then don't subdue anything you're not going to take care of. That's dominion. 5 little things I give to you. Right out of the book of Genesis. As plain as the nose on your face. But as simple as it is, if somebody would listen to what I'm saying, they might produce an answer that solves a problem for first responders who are going into hospital rooms having to rinse off the gowns they just put on. Or make a mask. It's pretty simple. All over the country, they're having big discussions about it with CEOs and corporate executives are trying to figure out how they can take their apparatus or companies and produce something. Liquor companies are starting to produce hand sanitizers, and car companies are starting to produce breathing apparatus, where everybody's rethinking themselves, reinventing themselves, taking what they have and turning it around to make something else out of it. And while they're doing that, we're just like waiting. We have something to contribute to. Every last one of us has something we can contribute. And it might be the answer to your prayer. It might be the answer to your prosperity. It might be the answer to your sanity. It might be the answer to your confidence. It might be the answer to healing your character. Be fruitful. Multiply. Replenish. Subdue. Have dominion. Our parents did it, our grandparents did it, our great-great-grandparents did, no matter what ethnicity you are. If my great-grandmother came back today and saw all the stuff that we don't have to do anymore, she wouldn't even know how to cook dinner. She wouldn't even know what the microwave was. She wouldn't even know what store-bought buttermilk was. She wouldn't even know that you could buy butter in a store. We came from generations of people who were fruitful. I'm not saying we should go back and make butter. Nothing wrong with it if we do. I'm just saying we ought to make something. We ought to be productive in some way. And I want you to think about that before you go to bed tonight. And I only say be fruitful because I know that if God made you, he made you seedful. This is Bishop T.D. Jakes, stuck in the house just like you. Shut down and shut in, but not shut out from creativity. And I thought I'd have a little talk with you like I talk to myself, and maybe somebody out of the masses of people who will comment and say, God knows what. I always read later all the interesting comments that I get. Maybe we will stop just waiting and praying and hoping that something will happen and understand that we are the people we've been waiting for, and that the answer to our prayers is often in our own two hands. Be fruitful. Multiply. You got something fruitful? Time to multiply. You reach the top of it, you're bored with it? Don't quit, multiply it. Subdue. Replenish, subdue, and have dominion. Because you are kings and queens and priests unto God. And there's no need in having a crown if you don't have a kingdom. Reign over something if it ain't nothing but your house. God bless you. Have a great evening. I'm Bishop T.D. Jakes, signing out.